So, じゃあ始めましょうか。
Should I look in the camera or look at you? What do you prefer? Whatever, it's not.
It's, yeah, whatever.
All right.
Honestly, we can be looking at each other. じゃあ始めます。
Hi, お願いします。
Hello and welcome back to the Mixing Music Podcast. I'm your host, Dee Kei, and with me today, we have a very special guest. We are currently in Shibuya, in Japan, in Tokyo, with my very good friend, Erik, from Black Cat, White Cat Music.
That's correct.
Publishing.
No, just Black Cat, White Cat Music.
Black Cat, White Cat Music. Tell us a little bit about Black Cat, White Cat. You guys are a agency?
We are an agency, that is correct.
Nice.
We also do a lot of publishing stuff. So actually, Black Cat, White Cat started off with my business partners, Seiya and Asuka, were brother and sister. And they started off in 2018. And Seiya was actually doing a lot of the advertising work previously. And Asuka is also a composer in LA. She was based in LA, and they decided to do a venture together. And I was actually working at a different company at the time, and I joined forces with them in 2021. So since then, we've kind of grown into an agency that does not only commercials. I mean, we started off just with commercials, but then we started to do some films, long-form TV series. We did some game apps, and we also have a publishing branch that we kind of help people out with. Yeah.
That's sweet. Well, as you can tell, this is a very special episode of the podcast. I've gotten really lazy with making sure we capture video to begin with. So not only are we capturing video here in a beautiful cafe, again, in the middle of Shibuya, how cool is that? I never speak Japanese into the mic.
Oh, really?
So it's like the fact that I am Japanese to the audience is just like a fun fact. There's no proof. There's no proof. If you look at me, it's like, oh, DK definitely speaks Spanish. That's what he looks like.
Well, people think that of me too. Yeah. When I speak Japanese, people are like, really? You're not?
They show it. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, yeah. Even in LA, especially in LA. Anyway, this is an awesome special episode. Erik has a lot of, I'm sure, a lot of incredible insight with not just the back end of music, as well as like the, what do you call that? The intermediary between business and music, and the solutions in between. Like, so today we want to talk about a little bit about like what advertisers are usually looking for with music and what that means for your production and mixing, right? And how you can possibly make better music for what people are looking for. And then as well as you know, I'm always interested in the regional cultural differences of business ethics. Ethics? Is that the right word? Or like
etiquette?
Etiquette is the right word.
Yeah.
Etiquette. And then as well as like a creative philosophy.
Right.
Because do you think the Japanese musician approaches, or like craftsman, shokunin, approaches music differently than the average American, you think?
I think it's a very different, I mean, just from the society, it's such a different way of living, right? You always like focus on like the one thing and you just focus 100% purely on that. So there are certain maybe technical aspects that maybe Japanese musicians can excel in, but then groove aspects, maybe American or other countries have different types of grooves, but then that can also, you can tie that into the language in itself, the pace of life, you know, all these things will come into music because everything is based on rhythm and melody. At least that's how I see it.
Right. There is a universal aspect of it.
Yeah.
Where it is, at the end of the day, rhythm, melodies, and the spaces in between.
Exactly.
But there is, I mean, I was looking at your website, the Black Cat, White Cat website, and you guys have some pretty sick ads.
Thanks, man.
But it was interesting that how the music was used, because I feel like, so in America, one of the things that we often receive, and again, as a mixer, as a producer, one of the deliverables you always deliver is like a TV mix.
Yes.
Because the music is so loud, you want to have a version where there's no strong melodies or like no vocals. So the narrator on top of the commercial can always be heard through the music.
Right.
But in Japan, it's like the music was soft. Like it felt like a little bit more of a different utility, at least in the ones that I saw on your website. Am I crazy?
No, you're not at all. Actually, the one thing, because we actually don't go up until the mixing phase, and we actually don't give out stems that much either. So what
shoot, really?
Yeah. So I mean, that's very much a black cat, white cat thing. Is that we kind of say like, if we're gonna give you the stems, like, why are you asking us to mix it and make it for you? Because once the mix changes, then the whole thing that you liked in the first place changes.
Is that a black cat, white cat specific thing, or is that just practically how the music industry is?
Oh no, I think it's very specific to us.
Okay, got it.
Oh, I'm very against giving out full stems.
Really?
If it's like, at the final mix, then they kind of want the vocals to drop down a bit, then I will give, we'll ask the artist to then give the background music and just the vocal mix so that they can do it on their end. Because I've had it in the past where people would call me in the middle of like a mastering session and be like, hey dude, it sounds different. It's like, well, yeah, someone else is mixing it.
That's fascinating. So like now the question is like, what is the threshold between like practical business, like what's best and most practical for the customer? Because what you said is ideal for the creative, for the shokunin, like the craftsman. It's like, yeah, I want complete control of the mix if I'm making it.
Yeah.
And if you're going to mess up with the stems and stuff and change what I made, like that sucks. But I don't know, like I've always thought that it was like the practicality of a business being able to change something last minute without my permission. Like, how does that work? Do people complain, or do they find it useful? I guess it sounds like you don't lose clients because of it.
I don't know if we have or we hadn't. They don't tell us.
Right.
They don't tell us anything. But so far, it hasn't been a big issue. I mean, I think certain directors maybe in the past have asked for it, or certain clients have asked for it, and maybe it's because we use a certain nuance of who we are as people to kind of work around that. And we were able to give justifiable arguments, if you will, of why we wouldn't give out those stems, because it would actually not work well to the picture or so on and so forth. Because I would always use the argument to some of the people that we work with, like, well, if you're asking for like, I always use food or even like a good cocktail or whatever it is as an example. But like, if you're asking a great pizza shokunin, someone who makes great pizza, to make the pizza, but then you actually want to change the dough, change the water, change the salami,
right.
then why are you asking us to do it? Not that we're amazing at what we do, and we're good at what we do, but then why are you asking us? You could ask anybody.
Yeah.
So we're coming with, our sound is our sound because of who we are as people. And that creates that culture of who we are.
Right.
And if that's what you want, that's what you're going to get.
Right. Like, and I saw on your website, you guys have some pretty cool, at least the music that I saw on your website. I thought like ASICs running, you had like a car thing going on. Like you had some pretty high-end brands and companies that you were working with, which is pretty cool.
We're very lucky that we've worked with all the top brands.
Yeah.
We're not allowed to show a lot of the things.
Right.
Because I think that's also quite, maybe that's a cultural thing. Like the clients don't like us necessarily. Yeah, don't.
I think that's pretty normal even in America too, to a certain degree.
People put it up and they don't tag the clients, but there are a lot more things that we've done that we can't show. NDAs, so on and so forth. So.
Right. That's interesting. One of the things that I think about often is the world of making music is run by neurotic creatives who have a hard time committing to anything. That's just the nature of creatives, right? And then you have to interface with, still kind of creative, but like highly protocol, highly corporate world, right? Yeah. And then the interfacing in between. And I think about this from times like, one of my messages that I always share on the podcast is like, be the type of creative that's easy to work with, and you'll find like a lot of gigs. Like if you can do deadlines, if you can actually respond to emails on time, you'll be surprised how much you can stand out. Yeah. And I was curious, like, I mean, obviously it's the same in America too, but Japan is so much more protocol heavy. Like there's Neigi, there's like, like the etiquette of it all and like
the unwritten rules
and stuff. What is it like being a creative here? And what is it like interfacing with the businesses here?
Can I swear on this?
What's that?
Can I swear on this?
Of course.
Okay. Well, like you said, don't be a dick. I think that's rule number one.
Right.
But there's also a way to what I always try to do is I always try to listen. Because I mean, that's my job, number one, but it's also what does a client want, or what is the person who I'm talking to wanting, or what kind of information are they looking for? So especially in this kind of world where it is very much the corporate style, work flow, and they may look at my name and think, oh, he's a foreigner, or does he speak Japanese, or all these things that might go through their head. So my first thing is always, and also in English as well, is like, make sure that they feel safe. I understand them. I'm here to work with them. I'm here to realize their vision, and I'm also here to then enhance that vision. So however I can do that, then it's always like listening to their tone of voice, listening to how they their posture is. Do they lean in? All these small things that you kind of notice about
meta
people.
Skills.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it comes into play, right?
Right.
Especially when essentially what you're doing is you're translating these vague concepts, and you have to make it into tangible music, or a sound design, or into a film, or like a game soundtrack, or whatever it is that you have to do. So how do you try to fish out that information and really like listen to their story and pick up on certain keywords they're using, and then either regurgitate it to them, or try to change it to your narrative that you think could work, that you think will make them feel that you can get more information, that then you can start having the musical conversation.
I feel like that's a major part of my work that I do as well, even just as a mixer.
Yeah.
I'm translating these ambiguous, I want this mix to feel more blue.
Yeah.
And then I have to translate that into technical terms.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I need to back off the compressor.
Yeah.
Because that would feel more sad.
Yeah. Or gate the shit out of this.
Yeah,
whatever, whatever it is.
Yeah. So it's like, it's kind of this, sounds like that never ends.
It doesn't end. It doesn't end. But I think it's also then once you give out that mix, or you give out the track, it's like justifying what they've said. You said it like this. So this is what we felt was this works to this, and we always try to give out multiple options, whether it's, as I said, Black Cat, White Cat does mainly advertising, but we also do long form. But it's also like, what kind of ideas for this scene work? So this is what you were thinking, but we thought,
like for movies. That's what you mean. Movies and TV.
Movies, TV series, whatever. Cool. So then you have, you set up your cues or whatever it is, but you always have an option to see like, this is what you guys wanted and what we discussed. But while we were making it, we actually came up with this idea. What do you think? So then it's always having that conversation, having that discussion. Because as creatives, you're always wanting to push the boundaries, right? You're always wanting to make that one thing better than it already is. So how do you find that?
Right. And that's the sauce, right? I don't know. There's something fascinating to me about the colliding worlds of like the practical focus, just like get it out the door. And then also like the creative obsessor, like just obsessed with the smallest nuance. Like you said, like the pizza guy, like they want every single detail in control. I was going to ask too, I know everybody that's listening, the first thing that they're going to ask, right? It's like, how can people place music in Japan? Can an American even enter into this market?
As in place music, or know someone who can place music for you?
Okay, maybe 2 or 3 questions here.
There you go.
And we'll break it down first. I think the first question that I'm asking is, in general, across borders, how does a general producer or engineer or whatever get involved with agencies? Typically, I guess another word is, what is agencies like yours typically looking for, and how do these businesses typically work? Let's start there.
Okay. So Black Cat, White Cat within itself is quite a doktoku. What's the word doktoku? There are not a lot of agencies like us in Japan yet that we know about.
Okay.
A lot of the people who do music call themselves production houses or post-production or music production. And it within the name, it's just, here's the track. Can you make the track? Make the track. So the reason why we call ourselves a music agency is because we also are very much stuck within the creative. So how can, let's say, this green mug sound like? And we will start selling ideas like that.
Right.
And then, so to answer your question, sorry, I'm digressing.
No, it's good.
But people will just send us stuff. Can we work with you? Yes, you can. Is there anything that, that any spots that we can place the music? Sure. But the thing in Japan is it's also very difficult to sync music. So,
how so?
Because Japan has a very, very different way of viewing music sync, because they have this thing called a tie-up. So this comes back, I think it goes back to the 80s or the 70s, just when the Japanese economy was booming. And a lot of the record companies, heads and like the TV heads, and they'd go out drinking and be like, oh, hey, I'll use English names. Hey, Mr. Smith, like I have a new artist. You can use it for your new Toshiba commercial for free for the first year, and we won't ask for royalties. So they're gotten used to that kind of thing, where like the first year you have this option of having a tie-up, or you can use a song for free, and it's put on a commercial, it's put in something, and there's no royalties that need to be paid for it. Mm-hmm. Compared to that, the West is completely different, right?
Yeah, I've never even heard of that.
Exactly.
So it's like kind of like a promo type thing?
Kind of like you get to use it for a year for free. And the way they also view things, not the way I'm generalizing.
Do they still do like an upfront payment?
They'll give you, depending, they'll give you an upfront. I mean, that's not really, we have my colleague Joe is really in charge of that.
Okay.
So he's in charge of all the sync stuff. But it's such a different world to syncing in the States, for instance, or in Europe. But even like when we write tracks for commercials, we don't see any back end from that. So it's just an upfront payment. There's no royalties that we get. So whenever, like, let's say it's the only royalties we'll get, let's say if it's an international ad and it airs in the States, then we'll get royalties from it. It's not actually bought into the media. Because from my understanding, and if anyone can find any, like the correct information, please let me know. But from my understanding is that in a lot of the Asian countries, when you buy media, the royalties part for music is not included. So let's say if like a media spot in the States is like $1 million, I'm generalizing, 10% goes to music automatically for royalties. In Japan or in Asia, it doesn't really exist like that. In certain parts. So then you have to pay extra. So if it's a super famous song, people are willing to pay for it. Bruno Mars, Taylor Swift, the Beatles, Queen, yada, yada, yada. But if it's like something that someone made, why pay for it? If we can get someone to actually make something that sounds similar.
Cool. So like, I think the second question will be a little bit more. Hold on. To wrap up the first question. Like how does one come in contact with an agency or creative house? Like, how do you find your producers?
We find our producers through word of mouth. I know someone who knows someone, or maybe someone will send us a demo and be like, hey, that sounds really good.
To be fair, I think to put it in the context, have you ever heard of a company that doesn't use word of mouth?
No.
That like, oh, let me look at BeatStars or let me Google someone.
Yeah, I would never. I mean, I have done in the past where I've looked through Spotify.
Right.
You
have?
Yeah, of course. Like Spotify, trailer music. Yeah,
okay.
Like trailer music. People that have like compilations of trailer music. And things like that. And then we'd look at, this production sounds good. And then we'd contact them. But usually what would happen was more that, it would become an issue of money. Because in comparison, the budgets are comparably different to the States. And to a lot of Western.
Which way, up or down? Like they pay more?
They would pay a little bit less.
Right.
So then they're not.
And right now it's like 150 yen to the dollar too.
Something ridiculous. Yeah. So then if you're expecting to be paid in dollars, then it's, for us is a huge, like we can't pay that much.
Little aside here, we went to an Italian restaurant, Saizeria, the other day. It was like 400 yen for a bowl of spaghetti. I was like, am I going to get sick if I eat this? Like, it's so cheap.
It's like $1.50?
Yeah, it's like
$1.50. It's $1.50.
For like, I was like eating, I'm like, tabe hodai. This is a buffet, as far as I know.
That's what it was like for us 5 years ago in the States.
Right.
Yeah. Where we'd go to the States and be like, yo, and everything's so big as well. Like, I only pay 100 yen and it's like a big Slurpee. Like, this is amazing.
Right. Oh, the tables turn. Anyway.
But yeah, it's difficult because then it's also about how you work with someone, right?
Right.
And these things come down to relationships. So with word of mouth, it's so much easier to be like, I know this dude, or I know this woman or this person who is really keen to work, and I've worked with them before, and so on and so forth. And then of course you want to meet that person.
Right. This is as close as you correct me, because this is how I've been trying to explain this like phenomena. How does so the question is, what is the most effective vehicle or process to vet someone, basically to interview them, to hire them, right? Because if it's in another company, you have a set of skills, usually comes with certifications. There's some provable way, obviously through like what are previous projects you're working with other companies, but with music, it's like talent and the ability to create is almost like, that's important, but that's not the commodity that is worth a lot.
No.
It's the reliability.
Aisho ne?
Aisho? What is Aisho in like compatibility?
Compatibility, reliability, like how much can you work together?
Right.
And can you talk to each other?
It's like, it's kind of, I don't know. I feel like even in a regular corporate job, you want to work with a manager that you vibe with is the best still. But that's like almost not as important as how much it is within the music realm. Yeah. Which is, なんていうのかな? Kind of silly, but also like that's just how it is. So I was thinking, okay, so here's how I've been explaining it. It's like, how do you vet someone if you don't have the portfolio, if everything is so white glove and like unique for each project? I think the most practical solution that we've come up with as a music industry is I'm willing to put my name and my brand on the line to introduce this guy. And so it's like, that is the collateral for like, and if this guy fucks it up, then I understand that my name is going to be dirty too. And like, that's how the industry works. And that's how it expands, because everybody has a portfolio. Everybody has the creative ability to, right? And so it's like the word of mouth.
It's the word of mouth. It's also, because you said it, you nailed it on the head. Because you nailed it on the head, because I think especially in the creative industries, acting would be the same, engineers, musicians, whatever you're like, artists, photographers, because it's like, that is your integrity, or the fact that you're on time, you can keep deadlines. That is your 가치관, that is your
value,
your worth, your value.
Right.
Until it's not necessarily about money, especially when you're starting off, right?
Right.
It's like, I'm here. You asked me to be at sound check if you're a gigging musician, or you asked me to be at the studio. I'm here 5 minutes ahead of time. I'm ready. I've got all my beats ready for you to check out. I've got all my mixes. I've got all the alternatives. I've got everything. You are prepared. You are ready to go, because time is money. And people are always looking to spend the least amount of money on the best amount of work.
Right.
And I think that's within any industry, right?
Right. Yeah.
But especially within the creative industries, that tends to be the people that you want to work with. Right. And then if it's someone who's never done it, word of mouth is the best thing, because it's how do you find that passion? And if they are willing to learn, and if they're passionate to do anything to learn about that one thing, even if they're not there yet, you can see within their personality that they will get there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You're talking about like the potential. Like, does this person have the potential?
Yeah.
Like, which is not, you can't put a number to that.
No. Like looking for assistance or things like that, like, or someone who's young and hungry, and can do, and you hear things that they can do that you never even thought that existed. Right. But then they don't necessarily have the know-how or the confidence to be able to execute it in a fast, efficient way. So that's the way you guys can work together. It's like, how do you find things that make yourself stronger as a musician, engineer, producer, whatever, and how that also works for their advantage as well.
Right. So I have to ask, for the sake of the audience, because there's probably a lot of people out there, a lot of hungry producers that are willing to do anything, right? And not necessarily to your company specifically, but how does one start to get within the loop of word of mouth? Is it just chance? Is it do you go somewhere? Where do you source word of mouth? Like,
I got into this industry just through word of mouth.
Did you do something, or did it just happen?
I did fuck all.
That's the thing too. It's like, I feel like the same thing for me. Like,
I met a lot of people.
Right.
I think that was it. It was like meeting people and also having a personality that you're not a dick. And not being like, hey, I'm the best guitar player in the world. I can sing like a motherfucker, hey, I do this, we should hang out. Let's chat about this and be someone that you want to be around.
Is it fair to say that it's strangely more passive than people think?
Yeah, it is.
It's strangely passive because you'd think it'd be very active networking and like being, I do think, would it also be fair? Because is the music industry, the entertainment stuff in Japan mostly in Shibuya?
No. I mean, there's so many different types, right?
Right.
There's like...
The only 2 recording studios that I know are in Shibuya. That's why I made an assumption. I only know 2. There's probably thousands. Right?
I mean, in this day and age, it's probably just one. But I mean, right now, like if you think about all the home musicians, the people with studios at home, and then all the anime creators, then you have like, your Akihabara style of music, then you have like the anime type of stuff, then you have the game stuff, then you have like the Vocaloid stuff, then you have like dude, this is Tokyo, man.
Okay, so it's not region locked.
No. I think Shibuya just has this image of being like the cool hip place and so on and so forth. But like, all where the advertisers are is all in a place called Shimbashi, which is where all the big corporate places are.
Because that's one of the reason why I bring that up is because if it is strangely passive to be passed along word of mouth and just meet people, like I feel like the number one thing for anybody wanting to do music industry professionally, and this is a big risk because part of that being strangely passive is that it might never happen. But like one of my mentors said, like you have to live in a big music city. Yeah. Like you have to live in America, it'd be LA, Nashville, or New York. Like if you aren't in one of those places, and maybe Atlanta, if you're like really into hip hop. Austin is live sound.
Okay.
And of course, a lot of like Christian music and stuff. But within the South, it's Nashville for like songwriter bands, country and whatnot. Like you have to be there, not because there's jobs out there necessarily, but you're going to accidentally and strangely passively meet people over the course of the year, of like years. Have you heard of NAMM?
Of course.
Right? Have you been?
Yeah. No, I haven't been yet.
Okay. So like the first time I went to NAMM was like in 2019, right before COVID.
Right.
Didn't know anybody, not a single soul, maybe one person in passing.
Yeah.
And it's so crowded. It's so full. And then the third or fourth time I went after moving to LA, because I moved in 2020, it was like 3 years later, 2023, I found myself knowing so many people. Yeah. And I felt like I didn't do anything. Yeah. And then like the word of mouth just kind of felt silly. I don't know it was just like, it kind of happened. Like
but the thing is like, but that is it. It's like, you just go out and you always have to be ready. And I think that's also, it's like, is if you meet the right person and if you get the call tomorrow, let's say if you're a session musician and suddenly they're like, I play bass. And it's like, oh, I really love whoever's your favorite bass player. And oh, this gig came up with some famous artist who needs that kind of sound. Can you do it? And if your shit isn't ready, then you're not getting a gig and you're going to be forgotten and people will not call you because you're the one who fucked out that chance. Right. So it is passive, yes, but it's always like, you always have to be on your toes, right? It's like, when can you bring my A game? Because if they suddenly say, hey, we have a session now, can you engineer for fucking, I don't know, Beyonce or whatever it is? And if your shit isn't ready, you're fucked. Right. That's your chance.
So would you, in your case, so now I'll ask specifically with Black Cat, White Cat. Yeah. Are most of your producers Japanese?
No.
Fascinating. No. I assume that's unique to your company a little bit.
Yes and no. I mean, I don't know what other people do.
Well, let me say this in front of the camera. So there's a little bit of, if I remember correctly, because I creeped on your website, you had a unique call to action or like a unique service of connecting East and West.
Yes.
Is that something unique to Black Cat, White Cat?
I
thought I saw something about that.
No,
it's like slightly more international facing.
Yes. I think it's on the website, but being a lot of us are like bicultural kids, third culture.
I don't think I've met a Japanese person you work with yet. I've met like 5 people since being here.
No, because I grew up in Japan, but I was born in the Philippines, but I hold a German passport.
Right.
So then Seiya was born in Japan, looks Japanese, but then grew up in the States from 11 onwards till his 30s. And then our other colleague, most of my colleagues are like that.
So is that something that is that the unique, how do you call that? Like the unique working point that you're working with, or like
we just
business
somehow came together.
Just Tolzien.
Yeah,
by accident.
just by accident. I think we were just drawn to it, especially because in Japan, like it's such an island nation still. In a lot of ways, like it is very international in like the brands and so on and so forth, but like culturally as well, like it still can be quite island-y, if you will.
Isolated,
like they're happy.
It's also big enough to have its own working economy.
Well, exactly.
It doesn't need to sell music to America.
Exactly. And everyone always says that. Now, that was one thing that I've heard a lot of, like, let's say, American producers, friends who've come from the States, and they would be working with, like, J-pop. They want to do J-pop stuff. And they're like, we can do this more, like, out here. And they're, the executives are always like, no, but we're selling enough here. Like, we're happy. We don't need to push. Why do we need to put extra money into something that that is not a guaranteed, this is a guaranteed dollar? Why do we need to do that? And that's what I find a lot here.
People are more risk averse here, not willing to take as many risks here.
Why would they if it's good for them right now,
Yeah.
And I think that was always one thing that me and my colleagues at Black Cat, White Cat, we were always attracted to each other, whether it was through musical understanding or cultural understandings of, how we were brought up, because, what it was like now is very different to what it was like, 20 years ago, of how they viewed mixed race kids and things, like things like this, that we all have something in common. And we all have that common denominator of maybe like, being a little bit different and then thrown into a different culture.
Right.
And then that is what brought us together. We're East based, but we're Western raised, or, so on. And so that's why we've always had that bridge. And I think a lot of us, I don't want to speak for everybody, but at least for myself, I've always wanted to breathe that. In Japanese would be kakehashi, that bridge between cultures.
Right.
And music was always the one thing that I knew could always, it didn't matter if you didn't speak Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Bahasa, or, German, French, whatever it was. But if you had a good melody, if you had a good vibe and a good groove, you're in. And it was something that was just the most human thing for me was music. So
I think, is it worth briefly mentioning the racial complexities and ethnodiversities and the problems and solutions that we have here in Japan are very different than the ones in America.
Very different. I mean, America, and I hope I don't offend anyone, but it is such a mixed culture.
Right.
Because a lot of people came from many, many different places for hundreds of years.
Right.
While Japan, it's still quite a recent thing that the doors have opened up.
Right.
I mean, yes, it has been about 200 years, 150 years, but still an island nation, still very, very much, it's hard people say it's hard to get visas here. There's a lot of bureaucratic things that you have to go through, so on and so forth. So I think it's getting a lot better.
Right.
And you can hear it within Japanese. It's very exciting now in Japan, to be honest.
It's so interesting too, because like I feel like the othering that I get on occasion, we talked about this briefly, like neither of us look really that Japanese.
Not at all.
The thing that most people, like if I get profiled or whatever here, it's mostly a practical thing. Like I don't look like I speak Japanese, because why would anybody that's a gaijin speak Japanese? Like it's a non-practical language to learn. The economy is not that big enough. And like, there's no reason to come here really. So it's like, but if you're like North America, if you're American and someone looks Mexican, it's like you almost always for certain know that they speak some sort of English. That's like not even like one of the things that you think about.
Right.
But here it's just like, they just don't want to be troubled with the like the possible, like you mentioned before, you want to make sure that your clients know that you're fluent in Japanese, that you understand the things that are already in place.
I guess because I grew up here, it's just something that's already built in me. That I'm just kind of used to. I think when I lived in London for about 8-9 years, and that was wonderful because when I was there, I didn't feel like it really mattered where I was from or what I looked like, and I feel that when I go to LA, New York, like the big metropolises of the world where people are just like, you are who you are, fuck it, it's fine.
Right.
Here, and again, this is just me, but I've always because I grew up here since I was 5, like I always felt a little bit of the outside. So I always felt like I was putting in that extra effort to fit in.
I do that too, honestly. Even with my own family, I sometimes like my full Japanese family. Like I feel like I have to do. I don't know how to say it in English. Like もうちょっと気を使わないといけない. Like to be more considerate and aware.
Aware of what you're doing, or like not to insult anyone by doing something.
Say extra thank yous and please.
And read between the lines and kuki, like read the atmosphere, read the air, you know, and all that kind of stuff. But it just comes naturally. I think the more and more you do it. And I kind of tying it back to what we were talking about of, you know, if you're like coming from abroad to Japan, I think the Japanese are very, very open to new talent and new ideas. So you don't really need to worry about that because it's not something that they expect you to know straight away.
Oh, so this is the new cultural shift that you're talking about?
Or the new cultural shift is definitely happening. Right. I mean, if you go into like the corporate world and you go up to the executive level, yes, they will be like, oh, you know, well, this is not the Japanese way, or this is not the way we're used to doing something.
Right.
So it is good to come to Black Cat, White Cat and ask for our help. But, you know, that's also our cultural translation that we can kind of navigate. And even
that's super cool.
I mean, even within our team, we have those discussions where it's like, hey, you know, someone so-and-so, I'm about to meet executive from this place. Like, is he hard-ass Japanese? Is he kind of a little bit more liberal Japanese? Like, how can I approach this? Can I just go, you know? And there are ways to sometimes just to be on their good books.
Right.
But I think that's the same in anywhere you go, right? Like, sure, in the States, it's like, you know, certain old school people are like,
is it?
I don't know.
I think it is, but not to the level of Japan, and not even close. like Japan is conscientious to the level where sometimes it is a little bit mendokusai.
Oh, the hierarchy is insane.
Well, not only do you have like the age hierarchy and like the seniority hierarchy, but I've heard of companies that instead of using a practical unified system, they have an old system for the old employees and then they slowly build a new system for the new employees, and they just work with dealing with 2 new systems. Or like, I don't know, there's
fax machines, man. Fax machines. We still use fax machines.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we still use fax machines.
Well, I mean, government offices in America still use fax machines.
Do they really?
And then they ignore everything that they get through them. But like, it's a bureaucratic as hell.
That's insane.
But let's go back to the music stuff. How do I first off, and I'm going to use you as a vehicle for other people too, because I think everybody's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Are you always looking for new producers to work with and expand the team?
Of course.
Is it weird and is it appropriate for me to be like, email Black Cat, White Cat if you want to pitch? Are you looking for people to pitch themselves to?
Yeah.
Do you think that's pretty common for most companies?
I would think so. I think if you hear something that is distinctive or different, you know, you always, because you always want to find new ways to communicate.
So if it's not word of mouth, if someone is pitching themselves point blank, it's the difference. It's do you have a hole in your offerings, and do they fit that hole? Is that kind of? I
mean, but that's with anything, right?
Right.
You know, I like that's I would have thought that's any job. If you're looking for a job, if it's the same thing as giving out a CV. It's like what makes you stand out? What is that track that, you know, when we do trailer, like we get a lot of trailer music pitches from composers and artists, and a lot of it tends to sound the same because there's that, you know, boom sound that it's like, okay, like, sure, I've heard this before. Like, what are you pitching me? Like, I've heard 10 other people do exactly the same thing you just did. And I have 5 people who I work with that I know that I can work with, that they know the deadlines, they know my tone of voice, they know how to work with me. You know, we have like, why would I go to something that is not something that is completely off that I don't have? So
you mentioned earlier that there's some flexibility, and we were talking partially culturally, to learn the ropes, right? As long as you try your best to be reliable and you seem like someone with potential. I'm just trying to think again for the listener here. if they're pitching themselves, whether to you or to another company, who's looking at the resumes in your company? Are you looking at pitches? Are you looking at producers?
Yeah, we have we have an info email, and then we share that.
Okay, so you're producers. One of the people that looks at stuff. What is something that, like, what are the things that stands out? Like, what is something where it's like, oh, I'm going to take the time to actually read this email?
Okay, the first thing is to fucking address the person's name. That is a huge, huge thing. Oh, if you said, "Dear Erik, I'm in." Automatically, I'm in. If it's like, to whom it may concern, and then you see the email and it looks so generic, like it's been sent to so many other people, then it's like, well, then why? Like,
So some level of
of course, personalization. Because if I just sent you a message and be like, "I'm a really good engineer, please listen to my track," it's like, but you don't know who I am. You don't say anything about my work. Hey, dear Erik, I checked out the Black Cat, White Cat music page. I really like this. I saw that I do that for clients as well. They research, right. Researching it's any job interview. It's not just music. Like if you're pitching for trying to be work at a good law firm or trying to get apprentice from a chef, you're going to talk about their work.
Right.
So know who you're pitching to.
I don't want to get super meta here, but like you did this really well, even with me, when we got on our first call about doing this meeting. You immediately were like, I looked into your podcast, and that just made me feel really good. Even though it's like, it could be just formality, but even if it was, of course it makes me feel good. And now I'm going to listen to what you have to say, right? So like in the other sense, like, if I email you, maybe it'd be better to be like, "Dear Erik, I looked into your website. I see that you have these styles of things.
And this is what I can do to offer, blah, blah, blah." Right. And then you're respecting my time, and I'm going to respect your time. It's one of those like unwritten rules, right?
Right.
But when, even when we got offered the podcast with you guys, it was the same. It's like, they're willing to interview me. Mm-hmm. So of course I'm going to listen to what they've done.
Yeah.
Because why wouldn't I? Because they've put all the work in, and they're willing to take the time out to, like, who am I to them? I'm no one to them. But they're willing to take the time out to interview me. Of course I'm going to have a listen to what they've done. And of course I want to hear what kind of voice you've got. I want to hear what kind of, things that you've talked about. Like, it's not just engineering, it's also the business side. And I like, because you guys do touch upon what is that the importance of not being a dick,
right?
In several of your episodes, but you do talk. But it is so true, and I remember listening to it and being like, "Yeah, these guys. Yeah, essentially, that's it. Right. It's like, just don't be a dick. You can do the technical stuff, sure, but you can learn all that stuff. But if you're not a dick, people will still come back,
right?
Because they have a relationship. They want to be in the same room with you.
So to break it down a little bit more practically, to kind of give hope to. Because I feel like maybe this is just a personal complex that I'm projecting here, but sometimes it's difficult to feel like I have anything to give of value, right? So let me break it down here a little bit for the listener here, right? If I was a producer, the one thing that you have to keep in mind is that you, Erik, and Black Cat, White Cat, you only make as much money as the offerings that you have, the things that you can sell. So if you, like with these producers, I can do pop and rock, maybe some hip hop here and there. But if you get an email that's very considerate, and then you take the time to read it, and they have a certain style or a certain way of doing things that now lets you create a new offering, then you can pitch yourself to more companies even more. So there is value into, there is like, it is still in mutual benefit to look at the pitches, right? So it's like, it's still worth pitching even though nothing might come back.
Yeah.
Right.
Of course, I think it's, when I was doing the pitching stuff, I still do the pitching stuff, right? Like a lot of companies or like I did, like brands who I want to work with. I don't know anything about who to contact. So you look up names. With the internet, back in the days, you couldn't find out a name unless you had to call.
Right.
But like with the internet, you can find out who works what, blah, blah, blah. What is their background? How much thing? And just personalize the fuck out of it. Because once someone hears that they've taken the time to get to know you, you will always be heard.
Right.
Is one thing that I've noticed. And it's the same with me. It's the same with you. If you say, "Dear Erik, I hear your favorite color is orange," I'll be like, "How the fuck did you know that?" Or, do you know what I mean? Or like a lot of the other podcasts that I listen to, like, Diary of a CEO. This is a beautiful podcast, by the way.
That's one of my wife's favorites, right? Actually. She loves that podcast.
But like my wife listens to that as well. And she's like, the amount of research and that makes the interviewee also a lot more at ease. And it's like, oh, they've taken the time to understand. They've taken the time to understand my ethos. And it's with everyone, it's the same. We are all just wanting that recognition. We all want to be heard.
Right. And I don't want to be totally Machiavellian here or like, manipulative. But if we understand that that's what everybody likes, you can kind of use that to your advantage. Oh, hopefully not in evil, manipulative ways. Of course not. But I mean, like if someone likes the recognition, like make sure you give it that. There was yesterday, was it my sister-in-law? Someone asked me what part of, it was just a friend, asked me what part of, they don't do music at all. Yeah. Totally different thing. So they're like, this is so awesome that you get to do your ikigai for work. Yeah. Very rare thing, right? Yeah. She's like, okay, but you can't love every part of it. What's the hardest part for you? And I said, honestly, and I'm maybe admitting to something here. And a bit like,
I'm curious what you're going to say.
It's going to be like, sometimes it's difficult to cater to everyone's emotions, like to like write emails and to maintain enthusiasm, constant, like 24/7.
Yeah.
Not that I don't like the music, but I'm like not in the mood to be super outgoing and happy and enthusiastic every day. But that's also part of the job.
It is. It is. I mean, people have asked me the same thing. It's like, you're living your dream. What's the hardest part? It's like the people. The music part's the easier because it's just like, okay, I'm do this. Okay, chord here, blah 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 blah. Okay, direct. Time difference. Sure, mix. But how people are going to react. And how do you navigate those reactions? And how do you actually put that all together and then put that and have that creative discussion with the artist who then maybe they're having a bad day or you're having a bad, and it's always the emotion behind that is what makes, I think, a lot of jobs difficult, but it's also what makes it so rewarding as well.
Right. That's what I was going to say.
Even more rewarding is because of that emotion and you got through it together.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, you remember that shitty job that we had to do? We did it together. Now our bond is stronger.
There's something about it being, okay, now we're getting a little philosophical there. Another aside. We went to Disneyland Sea 2 days ago. Tickets in America are like $150 a day per person.
Okay.
And that's at the cheapest.
Right.
So it's almost cheaper. If you have a big family, it's almost cheaper to fly to Japan and get tickets here.
Seriously?
Yeah, dude. It's so expensive in America right now. The point is, we got tickets to Disney Sea. It was a little bit too cheap. I didn't struggle enough. Like there was this emotional thing.
Right.
I didn't struggle enough. Like my kids didn't know enough about the Disney stuff. Yeah. We weren't like super hyped about it. It was just something that we do while we're here and it was too accessible. I know it's like a weird aside.
No.
But there's like something about struggle that's like absolutely necessary.
It's I used to do events in London, I remember, and we wanted to promote, young and upcoming musicians at the time. And at the beginning, we were like, everyone's like, yeah, I'll do it for free. We'll do it for free. And then the event was for free. And suddenly people weren't coming. And then a friend of mine was just like, hey man, like you got to think about it because you're not putting the value onto that. You're saying it's not going to be that good because it's free. Right. And everything that's free is really not that good.
Right.
So you have to put the value on it, whether it's like £5 or like £1, or because that's what creates if someone sees the value, then people will start paying for it. Then if more people come, then they'll see the value in it. Then you can start raising the price.
Right.
And I mean, that's kind of essentially is business, right?
Right.
Is because you are, I mean, especially with music and the arts, is you are saying that this thing is valuable. Hey, listen to my mix. Hey, listen to my song. This is value. And how much value do you put into it? And then so you talked about philosophy, but that is how
it's also, it's like an economics thing.
Exactly.
Like because there is no like tangible asset that we're selling.
No.
Yeah. And there's been some episodes we've done about like making sure you don't price yourself down or discount your own services before they request it, like, or like other ways of overcoming insecurities in which form as income in business, right? I want to segue a little bit into, I don't know if this is worth the time, but I'll at least bring it up. Any fears or thoughts about how AI will play within all of this? Not because AI as an art form. I'm talking about practically. If I was Adidas and I just need some background music for this ad that honestly I might not even care that much about. We just need to cover this one thing and maybe spend the budget that we've had for this quarter before we get new budgets, right? Why? Like, if the option is AI, like, what does that mean for y'all?
Same thing that Photoshop meant for a lot of editors. The same thing that auto-tuning meant for a lot of singers. The same thing that, it is another thing that will get rid of jobs and it will change things, but it is on a massive scale.
Right.
It doesn't just affect one industry. With Photoshop, the edits.
So I think the first question that I want to ask, and this may be scary or this may be good, have you noticed in the last couple of years, especially with the growth of Suno and others, have you noticed a tangible, difficult drop-off in sales?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, actually?
Drop-off in sales? Not yet. Not in Japan. Not in Japan. I've heard about that in other countries.
In other countries?
Because a lot of the things, what would happen is that they would do, so like the agencies would pitch something that they created on Suno. That was...
The ghost.
Yeah, AI.
My ancestors. That was AI sneaking up on.
They had pitched something to the client and then they made something, but the client was just like, no, we like the first thing that we heard. And then a lot of jobs would then be cut off from that, or you try to outdo AI and it's like a pointless thing. So I've heard about lots of jobs like that, and where people would just be like, well, like you were saying, like it's background music for a 6-second clip on TikTok or YouTube that just is showing how to use a knife, whatever it is. Then yes, I think the industry is heading into a direction where everyone becomes a creative director. Everyone becomes an engineer. Everyone becomes a director. Everyone becomes a singer. Everyone can do these things.
So the skill ceiling will go up. You're saying it's like the bar that it takes skill-wise will go up.
I think skill-wise, or at least your creative output. I don't like using the word creative output, but I think that's the best way to actually phrase it. Your creative output is what's going to be your worth and your value more and more than your skill set. So like maybe in our day and age, when we were growing up and when we were learning our trade, it was, practice the guitar a lot, and then you'll get to a certain level and then you'll be able to do this or work in different studios, get the different types of experience. But now these things are just, make my guitar sound like, I don't know, Slash.
Right.
And here's a line and use this amp, blah, 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 done.
Right.
But does it sound good? Then it's how do you put it together? How do you prompt it? How do you put everything together? And there will be a one-person agency. I've seen AI movies already that were quite emotional.
Right. Trump meeting the aliens.
Different types of emotion. Different types of emotion, but yes. I think that's where we're headed. And you've got kids, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think our kids are that's going to be their instruments. That's going to be their starting point.
Right.
Of like, I'm sure like if Beethoven, sorry, I'm using very much from a musical background, but if Beethoven saw how we wrote music in the 90s and 2000s, he'd be like, oh, like that's so easy, But then we'll see our kids and they'll be like, what? You didn't even have to learn about, chord sequences? Like, whoa. Like I get ads on Instagram be like, you don't have to learn anything about theory. I'm like, what? Why did I even bother? And now it's like, you don't even have to learn anything about music. What?
Yeah.
So that's how you use it.
Right.
And but what Seiya and I have been talking about, so Seiya is my business partner and he's also the CEO of Black Cat, White Cat, is we want to use AI not as a tool, but we want to challenge it so it challenges us. So we want to always spar with it. So that's how we're trying to integrate AI into how we do things, rather than just be like, oh, write a string line that sounds like that. Anyone can do that. But if we're actually trying to push the boundaries, like just from a sonic perspective, then we should push AI into doing things that it can't necessarily do.
There is something to be said about like the the paradox of choice.
Yeah.
Just because you can do anything, like someone that gets into synthesized music, you can literally make any sounds with different sine waves and square waves and stuff. Does that make it easier? No, like it almost borderline makes it harder now that you can do anything. And I'm wondering, like with companies like yours, I wonder, and this is now me just speculating, so you confirm with me, if the ability to create becomes a little bit more accessible, then what will become more in demand? What does that incentivize everyone? And I think that's going to be like nicheness or specific vision, direction.
Yeah.
We are this company that sells this stuff and we uniquely do this.
Yes.
Which is basically just narrowing down choices.
Narrowing down. There's too many right now.
There's too many choices. And that's how it is for any creative endeavor, is how do you narrow down the choice? And people are willing to pay a lot to have less choices.
Yes. Yes. I mean, right now there's too much. I mean, even Spotify. I mean, there's too much music. Like, how am I? People are like, well, you're a musician. That's your job to know music. How do you not know this artist? Like,
right.
Come on, man. Like, it's impossible to know everything and everyone. It's just so much content. So, I mean, even going through Netflix, it pisses me off if I don't have a specific thing that I want to watch.
Right.
Because you spend, 30 minutes scrolling just to find something that you've seen 20 times already because it's the easiest choice.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So I think a lot of it will come down to having that specific character. It's, how I see it is like YouTubers, or influencers, when that whole thing kicked off, it was like, essentially they're very good at marketing, or YouTubers are very much TV personalities. They just use a different medium and it's a different title. So, but they created a niche, they created a necessity, they created a market for them. And that's why people are watching their videos, listening to their podcasts, it being influenced by what they eat, whatever it is that they're influencing.
Right.
So it would be the same with how you use AI. How do you then find that niche thing that can go to that specific and personalize it?
Right.
But also how I see it right now is that experience is a big one. And I think a lot of people, especially maybe people my generation and maybe a bit older, after COVID and things like everything was Zoom, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's been great to have Zoom and whatever, Google Meet Teams Microsoft Teams, Google Meet, whatever it is that you use. But to have this conversation, I mean, that's also why I wanted to do this in real time with you.
Right.
Because we could have easily done this on Zoom the other day. Right. But to actually look into your eyes. But you know what I mean? Like there's a different vibe that you are right here next to me. And at Black Cat, White Cat, that's also something that we're kind of looking at now, is like, how do we actually use sound to enhance experiences, rather than just use it as beep beep beep, advertising or movie. But it's you're walking into space. What does this space sound like? How do you create a sound in this space? Where would you place the speakers as an engineer? Where would you place the speakers here? How would you mix in this room in comparison to a different one? If we gave you just one note to work with, because the creative direction is one note, one color, one tone, how would you? And then that creates a different way of using your creative mind.
Right.
That's something AI, I don't think.
I wonder if there's a segue from this. I think experience has always been an important part of it. Like that customer experience, right? Even the experience of, if a customer visits your website, they should be able to know what you offer and how to contact you, how to buy your services within 3 seconds, right? Does your website make you look trustworthy?
Yes.
There's a certain degree where I joked about it, and it's like when I was trying to figure out how I want to look, like physically with clothes and how I do my hair and stuff, I joked and I said, I want to look like the kind of guy that responds to emails on time. Like there is some form of experience. And if I'm responding to emails as a mixer and I invite the client to the studio, is the studio comfortable? Does it look like, again, it's this weird thing. Like, obviously we don't want to judge people, but that's naturally how humans are built for. Like, you're going to come in. Does it look like we're going to get this job? Does it invite creativity? Do I feel welcome there? Do you, again, respond to emails? Does your website look professional? Does your Instagram look professional? Do you dress well? Do you actually shave every once in a while? Whatever it is, it's like that experience, I can see it I think you said it well, like that experience is going to be even more of a high value commodity.
Yeah.
And like, it's again, strangely weird. We said this earlier. Talent is not the high value commodity. That is the given.
Yeah.
It's the experience, the branding. There's all, even for the artists, it's like, sure, anybody can write good music. Maybe not everybody, but a lot of people can write good music. What is the one thing that AI will never replace? It's the branding. Taylor Swift is Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Sabrina
personality.
Yeah, it's that personality,
Yeah. Emotion behind it.
Right.
The connection of something that is innately human.
Right. Which a lot of people, maybe through personal something, some complex or personal psychic rejection of some kind, may want, like, don't want to face that reality. But regardless of AI, that is something that will never go away. Yeah. And I mean, think about it as a producer, like, I don't know. I don't want to, like, if someone is, I'm thinking about like baseball trades, right? Because right now baseball is in trading and stuff. Like the only way that you get more money and you have better trades is through leverage. Mm-hmm. And what other way to build leverage for your own self than branding?
Yeah, yeah.
Or like, and part of that branding is catalog, past work,
image rights, whatever it is that is that person becomes the brand,
right?
And I think you nailed it on the head with sports, especially famous sports stars. Like that is, it's atarimae. It's a given that they're professional. But what makes them people like them is like, let's say if you're a soccer player, and you do like a certain goal celebration, then that becomes a copyright. Then people do that, and there's so many ways of branding, and whether you like it or not, it is part of us. Whether you like advertising or not, branding is part of all of us, and it is part of who we are professionally. Right? That it becomes what separates us from AI and being human. For me,
right.
I see that.
Well, and I think my argument is that's something that will always be used by companies, by agency, is that human experience branding aspect. Even though, just because I have a synthesizer that can make music on the spot, Suno, some other form of synthesis, people will still need to go to people
to be able
to execute.
Yeah. I mean, I think music has been on the forefront, maybe not in the form of AI, in the way AI is right now, but going back to auto-tune or even like VSTs or like being, things like this that you
in the box, Pro Tools.
Right? You can recreate a whole studio in a box. Like imagine the whole business of owning a studio is gone because you can just do it on that tiny little thing. But people still go to you and I to be able to hear because of our taste, because we're able to hear things or feel things that other people can't, that we can relate to other people. And that's why we still have jobs. Right. So I think that would be the same thing with AI.
Right.
And like our jobs are luckily enough within music and the arts. Our jobs mainly is about feeling. And what does that mix make you feel? What does that song make you feel? What does that ad make you feel? Game music make you feel? We're not in the admin world where it's like, things that you have to research like that. Those types of jobs might be a little bit dangerous.
And that's interesting too, because like, again, like just because in the opposite sense, you have perfect pitch, one person has perfect pitch and they understand theory perfectly and they can copy anyone immaculately. Right? This insane musician, if they can't generate, I think we call it in English, prosody, that emotional connection between the lyrics and the melody, or like even like, what do you call that? Symbiosis with the picture to the song. Yeah. Like there needs, if you can't connect emotionally between those two, just because you can make anything, it's almost worthless.
It is.
Without the ability to connect, which it's strange because up until now, we've needed that ability to create. And then alongside that, that secret thing that we've also needed is that ability to connect, the prosody, the emotion of it, right? Yeah. I don't know what the correct word of that is. And I feel like that's something that, again, why there's so much value still in agencies. And I hate to say this, people are such label haters, but like the machine of labels are still going to have value.
Yeah.
Or like the human experience, as you said. It's just fascinating to me. I'm wondering with Black Cat, White Cat, right? And with what you do, I noticed on your website, you're the CCO. Is that correct? The creative officer, or is that something else?
Yeah, chief creative officer.
Creative officer. What? That's fun. Creative officer in a music company.
Yeah.
So what are some of your responsibilities?
Oh, it's just listen to the music that people are pitching or creating, and is it within brand, or is it within what we're trying to kind of show to the world, or is it? I mean, I'm wearing one of our hoodies.
Nice.
But things like this also, it's like, this will come under me. So It'll be also like, anything that's creative within Black Cat, White Cat. So myself and Saya, usually we work together on a lot of these things, but it'll be mostly just like creatively, which way are we headed as an organization? And
that's super cool.
That's the job that I've wanted to have. So we created that.
A creative position like that. Okay. So first off, I've been a CCO as well for a startup.
Yeah.
Not anywhere near the level of Black Cat, White Cat.
Right.
But I remember, I'm wondering if it's a similar experience. It's also kind of ambiguous.
Very ambiguous.
Right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's the nature of anybody in the music industry. If you talk to an A&R, it's like there's some things that they do, but like really it's ambiguous. like even they don't know.
Kind of do this, kind of do that. Yeah. That sounds nice. And
right.
Yeah.
But that thing we were talking about before, that ability to connect and be like, this is it for this.
Yeah.
That's you.
That's me.
But throughout the entire company.
We throughout the people throughout.
Even down to the clothing. Are we representing ourselves?
Are we representing ourselves? Are we trying to brand it in a certain way? But of course, it is not just me who makes that final decision, but it is my opinion has weight to it within the group. As the Sayas, as other of my colleagues, and we all have our balanced, however it works within the company.
Right.
But I think, that is what I've always wanted to do, was kind of have that. I wouldn't say creative control, but I don't like the word control, although I can be very controlling.
Right.
But it was more like, how can we discuss and how can I be pushed? And that was always the thing when I was doing music by myself. Like I was a solo artist. And if I had a bass line that I wanted people to play, like if I asked a session, and like I would never go to a session guy who would play exactly what I wrote, because that's not pushing the music. That's not pushing the idea. It's always, how do you push someone to go somewhere else? Mm-hmm. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. I'm just making sure we're good.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a fun gig. But can I just bring it back to what you were talking about just before about AI?
Yeah, please.
The one thing that we do, and I really like what we do, is that what I like about old recordings and things like that is mistakes. I love mistakes.
Right.
I love listening to a Led Zeppelin record and you hear the plane, flying overhead. I love that right now someone just walked in and realized that we're recording a podcast, because that will be recorded. And that moment we can't recreate. Yeah. AI can never do that. And that's also why a lot of our artists have home studios, is because it's not a controlled environment. It is the place that they feel the most comfortable in.
Right.
And I don't think that AI can ever replicate these nice small mistakes. Or I don't know if you're a Lord of the Rings fan. Have you seen the movies?
Yeah, of course.
That scene where Aragorn kicks the helmet and actually breaks the toe, the famous one.
Yeah.
Mistake.
Right.
But that emotion came through.
My mentor, he posted something online. He said something along the lines of like, it's AI will have a hard time replicating when is the perfect time to make a human mistake.
Yeah.
When is the right time for a random mistake? Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I think, and that's tying it back into being the CCO part of things. And those are the things that I also look for. It's like, where are those mistakes? What makes something innately human? And like, I remember like listening to a track and people are like, oh, we haven't tuned the voices. Like, don't.
Right.
It's like, why? But she's a little bit off. It's like, don't. It's like, why? Because it feels right.
It feels good.
It feels good. Why would you want to tune it? Well, because everyone tunes. You don't need to tune it.
Right.
Just because everyone doesn't mean, like, and these are the things, it's like, oh, maybe fix that. And why?
Right. And there is times to tune a vocal too.
Of course.
If it doesn't
feel right, if it doesn't work to the picture.
But you have to be open-minded enough to realize that it could feel good without it, right?
Exactly. And be open-minded enough to see what the bigger picture is of whatever it is that you're working on.
Right.
So it's not just, because I mean, we're writing music, engineering, producing, it's a lonely job. Because because it's true though.
It's fucking true.
you're just sitting there, and if you're fucking up the whole day, your life sucks that day. And just to have someone else and be like, hey man, you're good, man.
Sometimes I feel like the only extroverted engineer, and that part of it is also hard. No, I'm thinking about down to the specific thing of a tune vocal. I mean, if the company that wants this music is like the commercial, let's say it's the same exact vibe. They want the same exact song, but one of them is like there's a fireplace and it's cozy. It's a little bit more intimate. You don't want to tune the vocal. That's probably not going to add to it. But the other one, it's similar vibe, but it's it's a little bit more cleaner shot. It's like maybe more of like an Apple commercial, for example, or like tech vibe. Yeah. Maybe you will want the tuning. All right, but that changes a little bit. Maybe not just that, but whatever collection of choices.
And those are the choices, those human choices, is what makes whatever that you are working on. And I truly do believe that music is, whether it's within advertising, whether it's within like artist music, whether it's within movie music, game music, pachinko music, whatever type of music. But do you know what I mean? But it's still, music is still music. So I'm very much a romantic in that sense, that I'm just a vessel that wants to make music or wants to hear sounds and work with people that can and want to do some fucked up shit with me. Right. And luckily enough, I work with great people. I get these great opportunities to meet people like yourself, and and all through sound. Like, this is fucking awesome. Which
I say this over and over again on the podcast at different times. It's difficult to properly articulate how profound this advice that I try to give is. And you have to struggle through it and go through the steps in the process. But I feel like the most profound advice anyone could ever give is to really just enjoy it.
Yeah, enjoy the ride, man.
If you can enjoy music, love music, love what you do, then responding to emails becomes easier. Yeah. Becomes more tolerable. Connecting, creating experiences becomes something that now you have pride about it. You want to, because you're maximizing your craft, right? As a shokunin. There's something about it, and it's difficult. Do you feel like, this is a random aside too, do you feel like you've struggled with staying in love with the industry?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Right? That's a pretty normal. Have you intentionally worked at staying in love with it? Is that some internal work that you've done? How do you, I don't know, keep on? Yeah.
Being in love?
Right. Cause you could survive.
Yeah.
You could just be like, I'm going to go in, I'm going to clock in today. But that doesn't really produce great work.
I've been through the phase of the complacent phase.
Right.
And I've been through the complacent phase. And then I remember seeing myself or hearing what that sounded like and being like, what the fuck am I doing? This isn't who I am. And so that's why I touched upon it with, music is music, is that if I just see it as advertising music, or maybe when I was an artist, I only saw it as my only artistic expression. I started to just become pigeonholing. I started to pigeonhole myself. The second I pigeonhole myself, that's where I start losing love for that one thing. And that's just me. But to get out of that, then I would listen to game music and be like, oh my God, that fucking Chrono Trigger fucking soundtrack from 90, I love that, and listen to this is why I love this music, or this is why music makes me feel so happy. Or then I'd go into listening to some shitty 90s pop that I listened to when I was a teenager and be like, this is why I loved. And then you find these things that make you fall in love with music again. Right.
Yeah. Everybody has, I think what I've noticed among high level or exceptional colleagues is that do this professionally for a long time. They've all gone through different stages of grief, complacency, loss of love of the craft. but there's always some sort of comeback moment, whether it's like a single moment or possibly a collection of moments. That sounds like what you described, where you recognize, gained awareness. But at the end of the day, like, I don't know. It's difficult to describe these things, but it is important to know that it's a normal part of the process, and overcoming it is a normal part that everyone has gone through. And there's no such thing as someone that's just like, I'm talented, I'm good, and this is no, like, the struggle is part of it.
It's human,
right?
It's a relationship, man.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure all the big, how many times has Mick Jagger played fucking Satisfaction? Like, do you not think he's not in love? Like, but every time people pay a lot of money to see him in love with that song because they have all these memories.
Right.
I'm sure there are some days he's like, dude, fuck this shit, man.
But that's a really good example, because his motivation for loving that song has probably changed over the years. Yeah. At first, like, he really loved that song. It was an expression of something. Then it possibly turned into other people love this song, and I love serving other people.
And I see what that reaction when I play that song, or now that I'm in my 80s or however old he is, then satisfaction is a satisfaction in my own life, and the relatability, and it
changes.
Yeah, it changes. Right. We're human. We change with the times, but our love. But we find, if we know that we love something, we find different ways to love it.
Right. I don't, like, this is my personal anecdote, but for me, one thing that I forget at times and then I remind myself at times is I got into music and I decided to do music. I was sitting on the toilet and like some revelation, right? I was going to be a psychologist, actually. I was like, and then I decided, would I do psychology for free? Would I be a human trash can for free? And I was like, no. So I'd be doing it for money then, which is, not bad. But for me, it was like, not right. Then I was like, what changed my life? What was therapy for me? Music changed my life. Music was there for me when nobody else was. Music is a scalable form of therapy that I would do for free. Yeah. And I remember that. It's like, oh, right. I wanted to do music for the service of it, for others, beyond myself. Yeah. The experience of it and giving that experience to others. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, that's why I love it. Yeah. That's part of the reason. Anyway, excuse me. I don't mean to make it about myself, but like, that's, I feel like a big part of the craft.
But it's very true. I mean, I think that's very true. And people forget that because people get, their vision gets clouded by money, success, your technical abilities becoming better, beating that person. But when it comes down to it, and I'm human. It happens to me all the time. The materialistic things kind of show up, and you're just like, "Oh, I want that. I'd really like that new microphone, and I need to make more. Whatever it is." But what am I doing this for? Right. And me and Saya and talk about this a lot. It's like like sometimes we're lucky enough that we get to go to different countries, and it's like, dude, like, can you imagine telling yourself, like your 20-year-old self, like you're going to France with music? This is fucking dope. Like, don't forget this feeling. Like, sure, you have to deal with clients, or sure, you have to deal with some things, unsavory things, or deal with emails, but we're going to France. Fuck yeah. Yeah, and like I'm meeting you from LA and doing a podcast. Music, this is dope.
This is cool for me. Again, we're in Shibuya, dude. This is sick.
Son of cheese.
Like, I'm not here as a tourist. I'm here for work.
There's a tax write-off.
That's the most important part. Although it is the beginning of the year. Oh my gosh, I hate this time of year and tax season for us in America.
Oof, Uncle Sam.
Yeah, Sam. Yeah, dude. I really, really appreciate that. Like, there is some sort of beautiful symbiotic relationship with the chaotic. I'm going to try to describe this. I've never tried describing it this way. One of the things I love is I believe that truth lies in paradox. I'm obsessed with Zen philosophy and Taoist philosophies. So it's like in yin and yang, right? Yin and yang. It's like there's something about the symbiosis of creative, chaotic, figuring out the answer through clouds of ambiguity. And then there's the unification between that and structured business. That is so fun for me.
Yeah.
Because I can't imagine myself being like totally chaotic. Like I need that chaos, but like just that would kill me. I don't know. Maybe some people like that, but there's something, and I hope, and for the listeners here, it's like, I want people to recognize that that's the nature of the business, that it's like practical decisions. It's not like the devil that's gatekeeping you from it. You know, it's people making practical decisions that most benefit themselves within protocol or cultural. And then there's also the idea that like, we don't know what the fuck we're doing.
and it's
like,
okay.
And
it's okay.
And it's the combination of those two.
And because like there's so many, I mean, this day and age where there's so much that you can learn about business, so much you can learn about philosophy, so much you can learn about all these things, but also what is true to yourself. You know, but you guys touch upon that in your podcast a lot. It's like, you know, you do talk a lot about your business, but then you also talk about who you are as people and how to like, I mean, not being a dick is ground zero, right? Right. But that is always the basis about who you are as that person. That's what makes everyone special. And people forget that. And people forget because they are so, I'm writing a business email, so I have to sound a certain way. No, you don't. Right. You write how you want to write. Maybe that works. Maybe that doesn't. If it doesn't work, and if you get no one listening to your tracks, maybe it's your tracks. Maybe it's your email. Change something up. Trial and error. That's how we've all done it.
Right.
I mean, music has been trial and error for me. Getting to this point, I mean, I don't know how or why. I mean, this is a blessing, right?
Right.
That we get to do this for a living.
That's so cool. It is so cool.
So
it's so cool. And so I think the big takeaway is you kind of hear what Erik and I are talking about. I think that it's appropriate. And in fact, I hope people are feeling motivated to, dare I say, cold outreach.
Yeah.
Make it personal. You know, do the research into these companies, find these companies, pitch yourself. If you're focusing on the craft, the technical stuff, like try to be authentic.
Yeah.
I think it's a Zen saying that's like the search for authenticity in itself is already inauthentic. So like instead of trying like
that sounds something very Zen-y.
Yeah, like don't try, like learning to be yourself and to make music for yourself takes a lot of practice.
It does.
Right? And so like, if that's something that you're thinking about, like, don't try so hard, maybe is the answer. Try harder, maybe that's the answer.
Find it though.
Yeah.
Find your groove, man.
Right. And because there is obviously mutual interest to sell music to these companies that need it, that have the budgets for it. And you could be that guy. And
can I just add, sorry to interrupt, not just the companies, but the artists as well. Selling a song is the same thing. Do your research into the artist. Do your research why I'm going to use Beyonce or whoever, Taylor Swift or whoever. Right. She writes her own songs, but you know, why is this song catered to who you are right now? Why is this song, you know, when you're pitching as a songwriter, that I had to do that. It's like you're writing a song for someone else. When I was doing stuff for EMI, like it's like this Japanese artist pitching for this. Okay, this is their sound, this is their melody. How do I cater to that story? So it's always the research. Not to forget, there is always a story within everything.
Right.
So do your research, get to know whatever you're pitching on, whether it's a song, a company, a brand, a game. It doesn't matter if you're doing it through music or, you know, learn about it.
I think that's beautiful. I think that's a good place to sort of wrap it up.
All right.
What do you think?
I think that's great, man.
How long have
you been chatting for? It's been a minute.
That was like the fastest hour and a bit.
Yeah.
It was an hour and a bit. We talked a lot. Okay, hold on. Just a little bit of a recap at the end of the episode. Talked about experience. We talked about the emotional connection. We've even talked about the practicality of business and like, where business plays a role, how business is possibly going to change in the face of AI. What does it mean to have a human experience? And then the last thing was, what did you say? What did you say? The last
research.
Point. Research. Like having, it's not just like etiquette or social function, but like that is the experience that we're selling. It's like personalized. So do the research and then send out pitches.
Yeah.
Send out pitches, send out stuff.
Know your own story and know their story.
Right.
Because that's how you communicate. Which, I mean, it's just music, sound is a form of communication.
Right. Yeah. So most of our listeners are producers.
Yeah.
Some of them are engineers that also produce.
Yeah.
Very few of our listeners are just engineers.
Yeah.
So I think this episode is practical to almost everyone that listens.
Yeah.
And I think this is a really good episode. Thank you, Erik.
No, thank you for having me. And if anyone is interested in, working with us in Japan, or we also have an office in Estonia.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. We have an office in Estonia that we opened 2024 October. So, if you're worried about time difference, still got Estonia. That's still awake when maybe Tokyo's asleep. But yeah, just send stuff over. And I think...
Is it okay if we say right now, what is the email to pitch stuff?
Yeah, info@bwcatmusic.com.
info@bwcatmusic.com.
Yeah, Black Cat,
there it
White
is,
Cat
folks.
Music. All right. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you so much. And on that note, happy mixing, my friends, and stay saucy.
ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。